right. It's the 1878 Casuals. It's your man Sinatra. I'm here with Bandido Mike. We're talking Chelsea. We're talking Super League. And anything else you wanted to cover, Bandido? Let's get it started.
Yeah, so our very difficult week continues, and the squad's got to be flying high with confidence. So to take on Chelsea, um, and we were talking off camera right now. Chelsea is, Potter.
What's up?
He's got him in a bit of form. They've taken they had a draw in Brentford, but before that they've had 3 wins and some impressive wins in Champions League. So they're not a team that's gonna sit back at Stamford Bridge and try to share the point. They're gonna go for the win, and we are pretty good at teams that want to play football this season. We're pretty good at nullifying what they want to do and then dominating the way we want to play. It's the teams that Everton and Newcastle that we have to try to crack, but Chelsea's not going to do that at home.
No, that typically plays into our hands. It's interesting though that they're in sort of the same situation we are, that they don't have like a true recognized like striker in their side, yet they're still scoring a lot of goals, more goals probably than we are. But I wonder how that sort of affects us, playing like if they go with a false nine. I think they did actually play with like a under 21 striker against Brentford. But if it's like
Yeah,
Havertz or something like that, he's got some different movement to him that may be a different look. But they've kept that same similar formation that Tuchel had, where it's still three at the back, it's still four in the middle, and it's still three forwards up top.
yeah. So Sterling and Havertz and Mount are kind of like interchangeable. Um, yeah, they play those wingers and they keep the width and I think it's gonna be Hudson Odoi, yeah, because they've got some injuries, Reece James, so maybe
Conte's out.
Aspilicueta,
No
yeah,
Conte in the middle. That's big.
from what I understand, yeah. So Aspilicueta and Jorginho, some of their older faces are gonna have to be in there. Yeah, oh, my cat just ran by. So yeah, hopefully we can, take the confidence and roll on into this Chelsea match. And so last time we talked about United in that 3-1-6, right? Trying to
Yeah.
crack teams. But what we're kind of seeing now as we're winning the ball up higher and we're pressing and winning the ball back when we lose it is we're seeing the two center backs and we're seeing three in front of them, right? So Luke Shaw and Delo, um, kind of in those half spaces. So defensive-minded players who can go and challenge and win the ball back when we lose it, so we can retain possession, right?
And Casemiro.
Yeah, right. Yeah, set like a triangle, right?
Yeah.
The three. Really good partnership, and we're seeing the class. He's settling to the league and into the side, and he almost got a goal with that ping, that little grass cutter.
Oh, that was beautiful, man. The way
Struck
he
it really
struck that, I thought it went in. Those stupid camera angles, I was like, oh.
struck it really cleanly. Lloris is just set there to look at it. I hope it goes wide. Um, so yeah, he's gonna creep up and get into that. Striking around the 18 as well.
I
If,
like that he has that strike from distance. What a hammer of a left foot he's got. I didn't realize, because when you're playing at Real Madrid, you don't really have to do that kind of stuff, right? When you got the kind of players sitting in front of him that he had, that you don't have to
yeah,
contribute like that. But for
I want to
United,
say
that's something
I want
different
to
that
say
we've not
he
seen.
scored in the Champions League final against the Scousers. I think that was
Yeah,
his score. From range, just putting
yeah.
the laces through it.
So Bruno scored last time out, but for me, he's not been as effective as he's been recently. Is this like down to Ten Hag's tactics and the way he like fits into that sort of attacking setup, or is he just not making the runs and things that he was doing previously?
Yeah, good question. Is it because we're not playing through him as much, or is it he's had a drop off in form? Is he, asked to receive the ball in a different position? I think it's a little of all of that. Um,
I think he's still working hard, but it's like we're just not seeing the assists and the goals that we're used to seeing. Like, it's not like he's disappeared from the team totally, but it's like, how do you measure somebody's effectiveness in the team, other than, goals and assists and, Hollywood passes and things like that, that obviously the fans want to see.
yeah, and he's put together some passes that should have been finished or could have been finished.
Yeah.
Um, and I will say this: uh, when Ronaldo is in the side, it seems like the players on the wing and some of the other players it force it to get him going a little more. And I think Bruno is not receiving those passes that maybe he's in a better position. I've seen that on a couple of plays where Bruno is the better option and he's in, the one touch could take him into an attacking position, but we're kind of forcing it a little bit into Ronaldo. So we're not gonna have really like a Ronaldo hate session. We're just gonna talk
I was gonna
facts
say
and
that brings us to the next topic, right?
yeah.
So, it's
So
before we even get into, go ahead.
yeah. So looking forward to the Chelsea match, I think it's two. When we say, this is a good test for us this week, right? With Chelsea and Spurs. Um, I didn't think that City match was really a test for us because we're not. It's clear we're not on their level. We have been able to, get some fair results and some wins, in the past derbies that are kind of, against the position of, on the table and, up for it on a derby day. But I think these are the real tests, like right here, where so the boss he's put it on Liverpool, he's put it on uh,
Arsenal.
Arsenal, now he's put it on, Conte at Spurs. So now it's time to, put it on Chelsea.
I also think it's fair to say, at least in terms of the City match, that we looked like a team that hadn't played for 5 weeks, right? And we didn't
Yeah,
play for 5 weeks. So it's almost like, is it similar with the Brentford and Brighton results in the early parts of the season? It's like you can't read too much into those, due to circumstance. But it's interesting that now we haven't had a lot of success against Graham Potter, and now here he is at Chelsea with a big time team. Can Ten Hag overcome that? I think he can. Especially because against Spurs, and something that we didn't really talk about was, even though Spurs didn't quite look up for it like we thought they would, and they've got a lot of talent. That was a team that played a low block, and we cut them to pieces. I mean, we deserve more than 2-0, but if we can play like that against Chelsea, Chelsea seems like a beatable side. Even though they're in an uptick of form, they don't have the players they used to have. They've lost a couple of defenders. They don't have Marcus Alonso. They've got who's a Cucurella or whatever now is
yeah.
playing that left wing
Koulibaly,
back. I feel like they
Koulibaly hasn't been all that great.
no, and Sterling, I feel like is not the player he was once 2-3 years ago. So this
Right.
almost seems like I don't want to be too overconfident because it still depends on what United shows up. But this
Yeah.
this
They
this
still
feels
have
like
to
a winnable
perform.
game.
Yeah, they like you said, they still have to perform, but this is a really, I would say, kind of an evenly matched. Uh, makes for a good matchup. I can remember when sometimes they'd come out and both sides just they didn't want to come out and they didn't want to make a mistake and they didn't want to get countered. I think both teams are gonna come after the 3 points. And like you said, this against a low block when you got that kind of 2-3-5 up there. If I got my mouth right, yeah. So you're it's your wingers that are keeping the width, and then Shaw and Delo are kind of in that half space. So yeah, I mean we saw Shaw connect on a cross from Delo, right? And that was like
Ooh, man, that was some good technique
forced
for
a
a
really
left
good
back.
save, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we know Delo can cross it. He can get the corner on his man and cross it, and then Shaw's going to be further in. Um, so that's kind of seems like the new approach to breaking down a low block. Um, we just have to switch the ball, quicker when they're compact and set, and exploit the space out wide.
Here's a tough question for you. Does Fred stay in the team after scoring that goal, or does Eriksen have to come back in the team? For me, Eriksen has to come back in. He just has to.
Yeah, that's. I was one of the people groaning when I saw the lineups. I'm like, oh, Fred, yeah, like he had a game as bad as you can
Yeah, he
get.
didn't look good against
And on the flip
Newcastle.
side, he does ones or tens. That's.
Yeah,
But how often does he have a 10? Not too often. Um, yeah, I think it's Eriksen and Casemiro. If Eriksen is available for the 90. Um, yeah, you could. We're just a more dynamic squad with it. Um, right? Because with Fred, Casemiro's going to play further back, and Fred's going to play up higher, right?
yeah.
Um, but Fred was looking good. He was making receiving the ball on that half turn, looking up the pitch, sorting the passes out already. Just kind of going for it, putting it in space.
And
Um,
he's not the best tackler, but he pesters you, doesn't he? I mean, he is just on
he
you.
yeah, he's a little guy that just flies around the pitch, and like like I remember, when you're a little kid and your coach is telling you as a defender, your job is to delay and turn the guy away, and you've
Yeah.
done your job. You don't have to win the ball off him right then and there. If he turns, or you allow your defense to get set, or you've done your job as a defender. So that's really what he likes to do, like you say, pester and fly around in there. Whereas, uh, so what do you think, McTominay, uh, or is Casemiro kind of locked it in now?
I was the guy saying McTominay undroppable for a while, but this last game I
And
think is where
his play
Casemiro.
his play warranted it, right?
Yeah, it did warrant it, but I think now Casemiro's finally settled into the team, and that extra bit of class that he's got that Scott just doesn't have is going to be key to United going forward. And that's not to say that Scott's not going to still get minutes, and Scott's not going to
That
still coming off the bench and start certain
that
games.
calming, calm on the ball, real relaxed in possession,
Him
and
and Eriksen are the only players that we have that never look rushed when the ball's at their feet. They never look like they're out of sorts or they're not sure what to do. Where Fred a lot of times looks a little bit panicked. Even Scott looks panicked sometimes on the ball, and that tends to be why when other teams see those two in the lineup together, they go heavy pressure in the midfield where
there's
they're
a
never
pressing.
facing the goal. They're only facing De Gea or the defender, and so it's like we can never get anything going that way. But with
Yeah,
Casemiro, you've got a guy who's comfortable. He knows that position. He's been there. He's done that. So for me, he's got to be the guy in there, especially now when you've got on the other side, they've got Jorginho, who's probably going to play into the Conte. He's a similar guy for Chelsea that can come in and sort of dictate the pace, and we need someone that counters that on our side. That when we've got the ball, we can dictate the pace and not look like, we don't know what the hell we're going to do.
yeah, it's going to be a good battle of midfields.
So on to the next topic, I guess. Ronaldo, he's not going to
Okay.
play in this next match. And before we get into like personal opinions, it's interesting when you look at it on social media and it's divided. Like there's some United fans that are like cursing the manager, like what are you doing? And there's others that are like, there's no one bigger than the club. And if he's going to act like that, he's got to go. And so it's interesting that divide that some are super loyal to Ronaldo and some are super loyal to the club and don't care who you are. And you had said something off camera, I think in the group chat, that even goats, have their expiration date, right?
Yeah, I mean, time is catching up. He's lost half a step. Maybe he can't leap and hang in the air like he used to, and it's got to be frustrating for him. Um, and he's not going to have the output to press, uh, like Rashford would be able to. Uh, and then movement off the ball. So he's not enjoying his football. Uh, and you can tell the team plays better without him in the lineup. Well, let's first say what has happened because we're kind of alluding to it, but maybe people
Yeah.
don't know.
So he
So in the match, Ronaldo was asked to. He was called on as a sub, and he said no, I'm not going in.
so
Refused to
that's been
sub.
confirmed. That's been confirmed. He was asked to come on and he refused.
Yeah, that's been confirmed. So that was in Laurie Whitwell, who is the covers United for the Athletic,
Yeah,
very
the Athletic.
reputable. Um, and then he walked off the pitch at the 89th minute, so still about 5 minutes left to go. And he walked down the tunnel to the Stretford end, so he had to walk that entire touch line. And there's a tunnel right where the in between where the benches are. He could have pretended he was hurt, went down that one, but he walked a long way and kind of
So the
put the
cameras would catch him. Like he
put
knew there'd be reaction to this. He knew that it would be seen.
you know he's got to know that everything he does is news, right? So he kind of made a great team performance, one of the best of the season, and he's kind of taken the focus away and put it on himself. In doing that, disrespecting the manager, the club, and the fans, in my opinion. So that's what's happened. So in response to that, Ten Hag has dropped him from the. He's been suspended basically for the week, and he's not training at Carrington. He's training in his own facility. Um, yeah, so he's the boss. I think has dealt with the Ronaldo situation pretty well. I think from the beginning, he did have preseason, and I'm not going to slate him for that. His personal reasons. We know he lost a child last season, so I'm not going to say it was him trying to manipulate. But he did miss a preseason. He came in, you could tell he wasn't fit, match fit, and he kind of worked himself into fitness. And we're thinking, okay, forced to move, tried to force a move. But I mean, he's on a massive wage. He wants Champions League football, and there's not a lot of options for him. So ended up staying. And you think, okay, this is a man who's had the highest level of professionalism for 20 years, and he's gonna, when it comes to it, when he puts the shirt on and laces them up, he's gonna give everything. He's gonna, prepare like a pro, and for the most part, yeah, he's done that to his credit, but then he goes and does this, and it's does he want to leave in January? Probably. Is the club going to do that? I don't know.
At this point,
it's
you almost have to, right? If you're going to undermine the manager and you can't really work yourself back into the team. I mean, there's not
yeah,
a lot of other options, right?
yeah. I think Ten Hag, like I said, I think he's handled it well. He seems to be very measured, and he's like well, get rid of him, or something like this, or he's never going to play for me again, or I don't know. I don't know that that's the approach he's going to take. Like you said, there's not a lot of options for him. places to go, who can afford his wage, and does the club want to sell him? He's obviously this massive, asset as a media giant.
Commercial entity.
Right. So uh, I don't know, but I think the boss is done a good job here, and he's known as disciplinarian, and he's put his foot down and said, what doesn't matter who you are, everyone's got to play by the rules I set, and especially older players to be an example. So Ronaldo has come out with the response, you know, talking about the pressure getting to him, and that was maybe in the heat of the moment. But I read somewhere this sounds like Ed Woodward wrote this, like
Yeah.
so I believe in redemption. So come back and tell it to your teammates and to the boss, and be responsible, and work yourself back into the squad, into the graces of the fans.
And just get on with it, right? Just get on with it. We, especially as Manchester United fans, we're tired of this stuff that doesn't have
We,
anything to do with the match, with on the
we
pitch.
had the circus with other players, and we
Yeah,
were really glad when that was over.
been
And
there,
we
done
don't
that.
want we don't want a Ronaldo circus.
No,
We love Ronaldo, what he's done for the club. Such a great player. Um, yeah, he comes with some of that stuff. So yeah, we just want to see him banging in goals, and getting in where he can, and he's got to play and get his goals. Um, we're not a deep team,
no, by any means.
he's going to get his opportunity. No, he doesn't want to be in Europa League, and he doesn't want to be on the bench. But that's just as long as he's at United this season, I think that's where it's going to be at. Even time, father time, it catches up even with goats.
Undefeated. Father Time is undefeated. And then,
Yeah.
that's also to say, he's not in the position to be the guy to build the team around anymore, right? I mean, last year he was probably still that guy, but it was, this one's probably a bridge too far. But you would hope that, a guy like that, that's been around, that's won it all, would figure out a way to still be effective even at his age. So that, I mean, what greater asset can you have than bringing a guy like Ronaldo off the bench? Even though that may not be where he wants to be, I mean, you can't, that's a luxury that a lot of teams, wish they could afford to have. But to another point, um, with that whole subject and the commercial entities and stuff with the Glazer family, it makes me a little nervous going into games like this. While we're excited and the team's playing well, and that's the most important thing, I still get nervous about getting into the top four because the track record and the business and the modus operandi that we've had up until this point is, well, we're going to back the manager until we get top four, then we get top four, and we don't feel the need to spend money anymore. Where this is not a complete squad like we've seen in the past, and it feels almost like we're in Groundhog Day still, where we just can't we can't get out of these cycles. And I
We're,
want to believe, right, because
we're
Ten Hag is the
traumatized.
manager we wanted. We didn't get. What's interesting is the other guy from Spurs. Oh, the Argentinian. Why have I forgotten his name? Pochettino. It's
Pochettino.
interesting.
Okay.
He's still out of a job, right? It's like he's almost like he's still lying in wait. That was that was the Glazers bad. So there was that
Yeah.
sense of, okay, they picked the guy we wanted. They picked the right guy. They picked Ten Hag. There was a sense of hope, right? Woodward's gone. We got in Richard Arnold that seems to be, at least more competent than Woodward was in terms of footballing matters. But
Trying to
now we
put
got this.
football people making football decisions.
Exactly. So it felt like, okay, things are trending the right way, but then the
Yeah.
Super League shit comes back up again, and I want to throw up. And what do we think about this? I mean, is this still a reality? Is this why the Glazers are saying 10 billion and playing games with guys like Sir Jim Ratcliffe and what is the deal with this? Is this one last hurrah for them? And if this is out, then they have to go, or is the Super League a reality?
So let's back up a little bit. This week, the Super League as an entity has brought in a new CEO. So we know that Barcelona, Real Madrid are all on board for the Super League.
They never stopped.
Yeah, they feel that it's the only way for La Liga team because of the revenue that is in the Premier League that they can still get this income and still compete financially because they keep getting all these players in and they don't have the revenue because of the TV money of the Premier League. So they are continuing to push, and Joel Glazer is still the vice chair in the Super League. So the after the protest of the Super League, and it was great to see fan power, like not just United, but you know,
Bayern Munich, Juventus fans, we all came
yeah,
together saying absolutely not.
Chelsea and Liverpool and all these fans. It's like you're ruining football. You're going to kill the pyramid. Uh,
And that's us speaking even for lower level football, right? Which would be even more affected. Your grassroots
right.
football, not just
Yeah,
Manchester United, your Salfords, your
it's the pyramid.
Dagenham
Right?
and Red Bridges, you know.
So it was great to see fan power, and they reversed course, right?
Yeah. Well,
So the
seemingly
Glazers.
reverse course.
Well, that's my second point. The Glazers came out and said, "Okay, we understand. We got it wrong. We're going to listen to you. We're going to open dialogue, and we're not going to move forward with the Super League." Well, do you believe anything the Glazers say? Of course you don't. If it's a way to make more money, uh, they're going to do it. That's what they do. They don't care about football. They don't care about the tradition. None of that. They see this as a franchise. Like
They want
they
to turn
could
it into
play,
the NFL.
they could play, the Tampa Bay Red Devils, and they would be really happy with that. Um, so yeah, the Super League. They announced that they are scheduled for a relaunch in 2024. So all you boys and girls out there, it's not over. We're going to need people on the streets, people protesting, organizing around boycotting clubs and their merchandise, and then the secondary boycott, which would be their sponsors, right? So, and letting them know, you know, you stand to lose financially because you're supporting these clubs that are trying to do this, right? So, Super League, it's they want it so bad, right? Because it's just you can still be shit, and it's like having the Clasico every week. That's what Real Madrid want, right?
It's similar
So
to this live golf thing, right? This LIV golf, where it's
yeah,
guaranteed money no matter where you finish, no matter what you do, and that's what they want. Because at the end of the day, the Glazers aren't concerned with trophies or titles; they're just concerned with their slice of the pie, right? And this is a bigger slice of the pie than they would get when I think right now,
yeah,
because like we've talked about before on previous videos about the Glazer out movement, the financials aren't looking good at United, right? This is, in our minds, this is the perfect time for them to start looking to sell off because it's not going to get any better. But the Super League is their last ditch effort. This is their plan to keep their greedy hands on the club and put it in a space that they've created and make
and they
football
can
how they
control
want
the
it.
league. It's the owners controlling the league. It's not
Similar
the
to the
FA.
NFL,
It's
literally
not.
the NFL.
It's not UEFA. So yeah, this is a Americanized version of European football. And then to your third point, what you're talking about, are they stringing along, potential buyers and putting this price tag out of reach of a reasonable businessman. Um, so yeah, it's their kind of last ditch effort. That's when the Super League was rejected by fans. You're like, okay, this is their money making scheme is out the window, and the value of the club is starting to drop. So now they're going to sell, but they're hanging on by a thread that the Super League can return their ATM to shitting out hundreds. So yeah, it's just my message is to United supporters is that be ready, be ready to mobilize and organize around another boycott and protest of the Super League because that's what it took the first time, and now they know,
We've got to double down.
right? You got to double down. You got to come just as hard. Um, Not just United fans, but fans of these major clubs that are trying to do this, trying to ruin our club.
I've heard rumors, just one last point on the Super League thing. I've heard rumors, at least in terms of like the Glazers' position on the club, that Joel's the one that's really still got his fingers dug in, where some of the rest of the family may or may not be receptive to moving on to other ventures. Do we think that holds any weight? Where Joel's the guy that's like you said, he's vice chair of the Super League. Is this like his pet project? He's the obsessive guy. They just can't let it go, and he's got to be the one shown before the
So
rest of them will go to the door.
yeah, so it's the six siblings of Abram.
Yeah,
So yeah, Joel is the most involved. From what I understand, um, the other four that we don't see, they're like sell it, like we don't care.
yeah.
It it means nothing to them. It's just an asset, like a building or any other property.
Anything they can put up for collateral, anything.
Right. So they're getting older. Is there going to be another generation of
Yeah, do
Glazers?
their kids care? Right? Is it something they want to be involved in?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it. So it kind of, I don't know if it ends with Joe and Mr. Ponytail. So yeah, we don't really know, what's in their minds, but we know that it's not making money like they would want, and the Super League is a way for them to make money indefinitely the way they want, without having to be good, without having to earn anything.
Just like the um, example we always use, especially when Brits come over and are questioning why the Glazers are the way they are. The perfect example is the Dallas Cowboys, right? That's the richest franchise in the NFL, and they haven't won the Super Bowl. Not only not won it, not been to the Super Bowl in 20 plus years, right? Only in America could you make that make sense, right?
Yeah, no, the fan base is countrywide.
Right.
They
It's not a
haven't had a lot
regionalized
of
thing.
success, right? So since the '90s, I think, or
Yeah.
early 2000s.
All right. So we're
So
down to like a minute here. So final thoughts, score prediction.
yeah, I'm gonna go with I think it's gonna be a tough 1-0 win for us at the bridge. Clean sheet and taking advantage of. You're not gonna get a lot of chances, but you gotta cash in on those chances. So
I like that. I think it's a little closer. They've scored a lot of goals. Their goal differential is a lot better than ours is. So I think it's a 2-1. I think we sneak out of there with a 2-1 win because we're playing on the upswing. And I think this was the Ten Hog put his stamp on the team with that win at Spurs. All right. So
yeah, it
like and
was
subscribe. We're gonna be where are we going? Saturday to O'Brien's.